everybody? Hope you all are doing well. This is DFS Army's NBA pre-lock show. I'm Josiah, aka Bob226, and I have today my guy TK Moss, Showdown, Goat, and also pretty good on main slates too. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good, pretty good.
Yeah, good to have you back. You're here last week. We were on a heater. Things slowed down a little bit towards the end of last week. I didn't play any DFS over the weekend, so I don't really know how that went. But how have things been for you, man? You've been doing all right?
Yeah, I've been solid, man. What about you?
Yeah, things are good. It's kind of weird when you take a break from playing DFS and then you jump back and you're like, all right, I'm ready to go. And then you have like a weird 4-game NBA slate with some very wide spreads and some close games, but Giannis is back, so it's a little bit less exciting. So we'll get to it. We have 4 games on deck, plenty to go through, plenty of time. But we start off with this Rockets versus Wizards game. 225.5 total. Not bad, but gigantic spread at 14.5 points. Something we usually don't love to see, but it does at least speak to a great matchup. For Houston tonight, Jabari Smith is out, so we are expecting Reed Shepherd to continue to be in the starting lineup because of that. And then outside of that, a lot of their injury news has been pretty much the same for most of this season. What are you doing with the Rockets?
Yeah, I was getting to a good amount of these guys. Obviously, I think Reed Shepherd is the best player on the Rockets. I was getting some Sengun. I was getting to some Terry Eason. But yeah, for me, that's all I was getting to on Houston side.
Yeah. Jules, good to see you. Andrew, Cedric, Ballaholic. NBA has been a bit tricky the last few slates. Yeah, sometimes literally what I did is Friday night, I was like, all right, not a bad slate. Looked at the weekend slate. I saw not too many games on Saturday, but the Warriors are playing, which is always a sign of me not wanting to play, so I didn't. And then Sunday was just like some weird start times. I usually don't play DFS, NBA DFS on Sunday. So if I don't like the way it's looking, I'm just like, nah, I gotta pass. Besides during the week for y'all, we do this day in, day out. So we keep this focused. Good to see you, Brandon, Thomas. Good to see everybody, man. It's been too long. Last week I forgot to post this in the Discord, so we're a little lost about y'all. But where I'm at, the spread concerns me, but the matchup's enticing enough, and the ownership's not crazy. So I like getting some exposure to this team because of that. Alperen Sengun, he's been all over the place this season, but it looks like he's on the other side of starting to be a bit more consistent, giving us some more high upside performances. He's going to be a leverage play for me tonight. Not my favorite leverage play I've ever had, but he's due. But it's really just the matchup and the low ownership here. It's hard to imagine this game staying close, but we do need that for him to really have an incredible performance, and that's why his ownership is low. Durant, similar. You can shoot threes on this Wizards defense. They don't play anywhere. But again, we're not expecting this game to stay too close, but he's someone I still want to have exposure to just in case he gets hot tonight at, again, low ownership. And then Terry Eason's going to be a leverage play for me too. This is a spot where I know someone's going to go off. I just want to make sure I'm forcing in some exposure to the guys who are a little bit lower owned. Eason is volatile, but he does have 40-point upside. And so I want some exposure to that. Amen Thompson, you can make a very similar argument for. I just prefer Eason for 1,500 less. And then I'm with you here, TK. Reed Shepherd is in 99% of my lineups. Might as well lock him. He's just cheap, starting in a great matchup. It's hard to say much more than that. All right. Other side of this game, the Wizards have the hellacious matchup against the Rockets. For Washington, they have Tristan Vucevic out, which means we should see Anthony Gill start, but Anthony Gill is questionable, which if he gets ruled out is going to be a boost to the other bigs here. Think some of the forwards like Will Riley, Champagnie, Watkins. This team's desperate when it comes to their forward big situation. So with that in mind, who do you like from the Wizards tonight?
Yeah, this Wizards team is, like you said, are atrocious. You can't really trust most of them because of the minutes that they're seeing is less than optimal. But I would say the one guy I'm getting to is Will Riley. One thing about him, his minutes has been consistent. So other than that, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, no, I get that. Flip, I'm not fired yet. Not fired yet. Who knows when my time will come, but we're good for now. Yeah, Jason, Monday nights can be a little weird. For me, is Sundays I avoid. Mondays are a bit more hit or miss. Tuesdays, Thursdays are kind of like my bread and butter. Gonna get right spots if the Monday, Wednesday slates didn't go well. But really, I just play. I try not to overthink the days too much. Besides Sunday. I don't love this team. I'm viewing it in a lot of the same ways you are. Will Riley's good because they've been giving him consistent minutes, which is something we can't say about anyone else on this team. Has been one of the more frustrating things about this season is that teams have been much more open to just playing a shit ton of guys, and that's what's made things feel a bit more volatile this season in comparison to others. Still been a good year though, at least from where I'm sitting. But I don't love this Wizards team. I'm not forcing exposure to any of them. Will Riley is showing up in 43% of lineups because he sees the minutes, but I'm not overly passionate about that. Jaden Hardy shows up in 15% of lineups. Fine. No one here is just going to stand out for me too much. They're just viable lineup fillers. They feel priced appropriately outside of Will Riley, who just feels a little cheap, but still a tough matchup there. So hard to be too excited. Next game, Celtics going up against, Brandon likes Bilal Coulibaly. Yeah, with this Wizards team, I don't think there's really a crazy call here. If someone gets hot, they are open to riding the hot hand. It's just always going to be a minutes concern here. But if he gets hot, there can be upside. We've seen it from literally all of them this season.
Yeah.
All right. Celtics Bucks, low total 216, but a close spread, which keeps things interesting here. The Boston Celtics, they do have injury news, which is why you're seeing some of them pop up some. Jaylen Brown is out. Big usage increase to your Peyton Pritchard, your Derek Whites, even guys like Nikola Vucevic at this point who are like their higher usage rate guys. And then Neemias Kita is out as well, which means we should see Vucevic start here. Boston's seeing some ownership, man. How do you see it?
Yeah, Boston might be my favorite team on this slate. Just because you got guys like Ron Harper, he was showing up in the simulation model. Vucevic, you got Baylor, you got White, you got Payton, and also like this situation kind of reminds me of last week with the Golden State Warriors. I remember those guys was like chalk, and I remember I think it was 3 guys in the winning lineup from the Golden State Warriors. So this team. This situation today is kind of reminding me of that. So I definitely love the Boston side.
Yeah. What are your thoughts about Pritchard and White in particular? Are those guys you feel like are worth forcing in? Because as of right now, neither one's really showing up close to field weight exposure.
Yeah, I feel more confident in Derek White just because, like, when those two guys play together, majority of the time, I mean, when those two play together and Jaylen Brown is out, most of the time, Derek White has the better game than Pritchard. So if I had to choose between one of those guys, I would go White, and I would go way under the field on Peyton Pritchard.
Yeah, it's tough because you're right. Those we do see White do well in these spots. Pritchard is disappointed quite a few times this season. I just like playing guards against the Bucks in general, and so that's why I'm a little disappointed they're not showing up more. Let me look at the guard spot a bit more just to kind of see what the DS is doing. And for those of you who are wondering, what is the DS? That is DFS Army's optimizer. Click the link in the description. Use promo code TK Moss literally letters TKMOSS for a 10% discount. You'll have access to the Discord where you can ask all of our coaches for different advice and also keep up with injury news and, of course, the DS Optimizer. All right, for the point guard position, let's see what it's doing here. It's giving me a lot of Shepherd, a lot of Murray, White, and Pritchard. Again, like you can see here, under field weight exposure. And so my question that I come down to is always like, do I like Murray and Shepherd significantly more than Pritchard and White? Yeah, I do. So at least as long as they're showing up and I'm getting some exposure, if they're the ones who pop off tonight, all I can do is hope I have enough exposure because I still like having more exposure to those other guards. So I won't force a min on them. But I do understand the reasoning. It's a good spot for them. Let's see. Next up, we have Vucevic. Talk to me a little bit, TK. The matchup for Vuce is tough, but he did look pretty good last time out.
Yeah, the game he had against Brooklyn, he had 52.2 fantasy points. So we know he can go off. He's somebody that I'll be like around the field because like I said before, we've seen the upside 6,200. It's not a lot, and we like in the minutes will be there. So I like Vucevic.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, our biggest concern with him has always been minutes. It hasn't been can he produce while he's out there. Right. So with Kita out, it should solidify our biggest concern with him. And even when he was on Chicago, I would play him in difficult matchups. So you're right. He's showing up in about 60% of my lineups right now. He's a play I like. He's a big I like. He's totally fine alongside Nikola Jokic tonight, but he's also still really good in lineups that don't have Jokic too. So he's a play I like a lot here. Let's see. I feel like someone mentioned Hauser. Yeah, Brandon Clegg mentioned Hauser. Sam Hauser is not a name I usually get to, but did you give him any thought?
I wasn't really getting to him. He's somebody like he can get hot from the 3-point land, but he has to do a lot more to win a GPP at 4,800. With that, we already have good value, but I would definitely have him in my 150s.
Yeah, Turner and Sims both are pretty good defenders and good rebounders. So it definitely does equate to a difficult matchup for Vucevic. That's a good call out. But 60% still feels solid for me. I don't love Hauser tonight, but like you mentioned, I'm totally fine still getting some exposure. Baylor Shearman and some of these value plays from Boston, they show up a good amount for me naturally. Baylor showing up in about 50% of lineups, have some really good leverage there. I view him as just a value play who's going to see a lot of minutes of some of the injuries they have. And again, another guard against the Bucks makes it feel a little bit better. These are the value options we have. I wouldn't say I feel like it's necessarily great value, but he's one of the better value options that we have. And so that's why I'm not going to cap him. I'm totally fine having leverage. Jason said, I'm a Celtics fan, live in Boston, watch every game. Hauser is definitely a solid option, but the kid that is lighting it up right now is Shearman, one of those.
Yeah, and another thing about Shearman, like he was just saying, like he's had good games with Jaylen Brown in and with Queta in. So it's like those two guys are out, and he's 4,300. Like I definitely like him as a value.
Yeah. And then the other value option that's popping, once again, because of minutes, are Ron Harper. What's going on with Ron Harper, man?
Yeah, he's somebody that he looked very appealing just from the standpoint in the simulation model. And when it came to the value consistency at 6.5, I believe he was I think third or fourth in that ranking. So I definitely love him a lot today.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I love Ron Harper, but this is kind of what I mean when I say we don't have great value, but we literally have value. Ron Harper, I view him as someone who's the bare minimum and he sees minutes. He typically doesn't do too much while he's out there, but like a lot of these guys, if they get hot, they're in the NBA for a reason. He's going to be in the nuts. But it's a little hit or miss on how productive he is when he's out there. I capped him at 50%. He makes lineups work. If you're going to get Jokic and some of the other studs on this slate, we don't have a ton of other value options. So he's just one of those guys you're probably going to need if those studs are popping off. But I don't hate balance builds on this slate. And that's where you see more of those like Derek White, Peyton Pritchard's, Nikola Vucevic show up. And then you don't need Ron Harper's as much. So long story short, he's just like a necessary evil to get to some of the pay up options I actually want to play. But like you're saying, Clegg, I think there are enough options where he's not someone I have to have on this slate. Do you view it differently, or what do you think?
I definitely see what you're saying. And also it's one of those things. What if Jokic gets you, maybe let's say he gets you 60 fantasy points and you don't really need Ron Harper, right? And the other mid-range guys to high mid-range guys goes off, and you don't need Harper. So it's definitely a case where Harper is not in the winning lineup because Jokic maybe gets you 60 or whatever, or 55, right? And Jamal Murray's the guy who goes off, and so you don't even need Harper. So I definitely see where you're coming from.
Yeah. So I capped him at 50%, not a full fade or anything like that, just not going to have him in 80% of my lineups. All right, other side of this game, the Bucks side is absolutely disgusting, mostly because Giannis Antetokounmpo is back in our lives, which is good for the Bucks, but terrible for us from a DFS perspective because more likely than not, Giannis has been out for a while now. His minutes will be limited. So that makes him unplayable, and then we're still paying a premium for guys like KPJ and Ryan Rollins. And so we're not really getting a value there. Giannis being back impacts their usage. So they're not going to have as many shot attempts. They're just not going to have as many rebounds. Giannis is a giant. So it's just a worse spot for them at this price tag. Well, that being said, we have seen crazy shit before where someone coming back doesn't change anything for one game, and then they go back to being their normal role after that. But I don't really see that being a spot here. So this entire team's unplayable for me. Do you see it the same way, or are you feeling differently? Is there something sneaky here we're missing?
I have to agree with you. Just from the standpoint, look at Kevin Porter and Ryan Rollins. We have good point guard and shooting guard options today, so it's not even a necessary. They're not even a thought in my mind to even play. Just from that standpoint, it's like I'm definitely not getting to them at all.
Is there anyone you like?
Anyone?
It's okay. If the answer is no, that's fine.
Answer is no. I can't even.
The King Raheem, I kind of like this. Any case for Miles Turner? Giannis and Miles Turner are the second best on the Bucks of the duo, and no key to defense. Instead, it'll be Vucevic at the 5. I know this is a flyer. Man, I'm low-key mad I didn't think about this, because you're right. I will play anyone against Nikola Vucevic. The problem is with Turner is that this is a great spot, but they've been splitting his minutes, and was really madness who put me onto this. He just hasn't been playing his high 20s. Let me see what he's been doing recently. Maybe things have turned.
It's been in the 20s. The last time he's played over 30 minutes was February 11th.
Yeah, against Orlando. Against Chicago, he only played 21 minutes, 24 against New York, 24 against Cleveland. That's just tough. If today he did happen to see 30 plus minutes, I think he would be in a smash spot in a really good play. 5% or so, I think is fine. I do still like the matchup. It's just they're not giving him the minutes to make him a leverage play. I'll be like, oh, we're on one today.
And then Vucevic, and Vucevic, he's 6,200. Like he's right there. And then also, you got to all the way up in Jokic. That's a center spot taken. So I don't understand playing Miles Turner in like a utility when we have other guys. But I understand what he's saying. That's good research on his part.
Yeah, it is a really good thing just to kind of think through. But you're right. That $300 difference just makes it almost completely not worth it at all. If Vuce was at his like normal mid 7K range, it would make a little bit more sense. Good call out. All right, next up we have the Nuggets going up against the Jazz. Highest total on the slate at 242.5. Widespread once again at 12 points, which is gross. We know this game should blow out. For Denver tonight, they are without Cam Johnson, which is what is keeping this game interesting from a DFS standpoint. You're seeing these forwards stuffed into your lineups because Cameron Johnson is out. He plays a ton of minutes, doesn't do anything else while he's out there, but he plays a ton of minutes for Denver, which means we're seeing a boost in minutes to all the forwards like Tim Hardaway Jr., Julian Strother, Jalen Pickett. But you're also going to see a slight boost in minutes to some of the guards here too, like Christian Brown and Bruce Brown. So there's quite a few guys who all benefit just because Cam Johnson's out. And then on top of that, you put in the blowout narrative that's likely to happen and the awesome matchup against the Jazz. It's just a really potentially good spot. So what are your thoughts here with Denver? Are you playing them or are you trying to fade them potentially?
I'll say I'm definitely playing them. Like these guys, for the most part, most of them look so good in their spots today. I can understand somebody with the mindset of saying, okay, this game is going to blow out, so let me be under a Jokic and do certain things. But for the most part, I love these guys. Utah is terrible in the paint. Like Jokic should dominate there. Bruce Brown is somebody who can score inside. So it's like I really like a lot of these guys.
Yeah, it's really hard to argue against any of them. I did do very little to them, and most of them show up in the domination station naturally. Tim Hardaway Jr., you see showing up in about 91% of lineups. That's being in almost all of them. I like that spot for him. Nikola Jokic, I did put a 70% exposure maximum on him. He was literally showing up in 99% of my lineups without that max. And I don't think there's a 100% chance that Jokic is in the nuts tonight. This is a great spot. And I'm not going to go on a not my favorite spot for Jokic rant, but I usually do like Jokic in just slightly more competitive games. Just one of those things with him and me. But he's still, again, going to be in the vast majority of my lineups. I just also like kind of getting weird with some of the other stars on the slate. I know. Dixon, what is this? What is this? I rarely believe in blowouts. That is true. But there's a time and a place. There's a time and a place. I am the first one to say, like, hey, there's a chance this game can stay close, especially in the first half of a season. Second half, and with certain teams, they've given up. They're not even trying to keep this game close. Let's see. Yeah, it's just a tough spot for him. Not literally from like a matchup standpoint, but it's just a price and upside perspective. And then Raheem mentioned that he feels like Miles Turner is a better fit with Giannis on the floor than Sims because of spacing. Fair. Play him for real though, Raheem. Play him, and I'll be happy for you if he pops off. The Vucevic price difference is what makes it too tough for me. But I do understand the reasoning and think it makes sense. All right. Let's see. For the Jazz side of this game, it's gross, y'all. We have no real new injury news, and they have a average to slightly below average matchup against Denver, who plays at a very slow pace. Another spot where no one really stood out for me. It does look like Ace Bailey and Blake Henson are getting some ownership, though. So do you have any interest in them?
I wasn't getting to them, but I can understand Ace Bailey just from the standpoint if he's somebody who gets hot and he hit in the threes is going down and Keontae George is deferring to him. I could see that, but guys, I think even 11% is a lot for him. And then Blake Henson, I get it from the standpoint of he's somebody who'll probably see blowout run if this game blow out. So I think that's fair, about 9%, 10%. So that that's all I got for those two guys.
Yeah, the Jazz are just like Washington. They just give all these guys a ton of minutes. And literally, all of us could go out there and play for 2 minutes and it wouldn't be too much different than what their job is tonight, is just to go play on the court. I did forget to go over one more change. I did put a 5% min on Christian Brown because he wasn't showing up for me, and that's for Denver. And I noticed Ballaholic said he hates Bruce Brown. I have a love-hate relationship with Bruce Brown. He's showing up in about 32% of my lineups, which is right there close to field weight exposure. And so I like that. I am also over the field on Jamal Murray. I wanted to make sure I was over the field on him. He's just been a little volatile, but he's shown some upside, especially in some of these tough matchups or really easy soft matchups. So like having some exposure there. Jalen Pickett is showing up in 24% of lineups. We mentioned him earlier. Strother is showing up right at field weight exposure. And then Christian Brown's right at half field weight. And even a little bit of Joe Val, which I don't love, but I can understand in a blowout too. Don't mention Gary Trent. I do love him. That's my guy, though. Not anymore, though. Poor Gary Trent over there. Is he? He's probably not even on the Bucks anymore. I don't even know where he is. All right, back on track. I have no love for the Jazz. I'm not playing anyone from the Jazz. As I say that, I see Blake Henson in 11% of lineups. That's fine. But I'm not getting much of the Jazz tonight. I'm not doing anything to them to make them show up more. Just a little bit of Contra, a little bit of Henson for the randos they throw out there. All right, next up we have the Clippers going up against the Warriors. This is an actual game that will happen tonight. Close spread. Warriors going up against the Clippers. For the Clippers tonight, we have John Collins out, which is a slight boost to guys like Giannis, Niederhauser, and Brooke Lopez at the center position, but it doesn't move the needle too much. These guys should still see like mid-20s in minutes, and they're typically not high points per minute guys, but worth mentioning. You're seeing Brooke Lopez get a little bit of ownership because of that. But nothing else. Warriors played a slow pace, so not my favorite spot. Who do you like from the Clippers?
I'll say my favorite play from the Clippers is definitely Kawhi Leonard. He's somebody who's 9,500. He can get you 55 plus fantasy points here. This is a game. This is an in-conference game. Like, these guys are like neck and neck in the playing tournament. So I think Kawhi's gonna come out here and play hard. Like, love him. And other than that, I wasn't really getting anyone else because, and also, yeah, Darius Garland is playing today, but I'm not going to even be on him. But I think Kawhi's superb play here.
Yeah, good to mention. This game would have been more interesting if Kawhi didn't play tonight, but since he is, I have a 30% min on Kawhi Leonard. Like I mentioned earlier, not fading Jokic, but I'm going to try and get some slight leverage on some of these other studs like Şengün, like Kawhi, and that's literally what I'm doing here. It's kind of focusing on some of these closer game environments and trying to get some leverage on just a game that can stay competitive. So hard to say too much more than that. I do like some of the lower ownership here on a 4-gamer. 30% Kawhi without really any other stud is nice. Good call. Darius Garland should play, but again, he'll have limited minutes, so won't see too much run there. But yeah, really just a 30% min on Kawhi, and that's it. For the Warriors, it was a team I didn't look at too much. We know they've been beat up for a while now. No Porzingis, no Will Richard. Gary Payton II is questionable. So if he misses tonight, some slight increase in minutes to guys like Moody and Pod, Spencer, that whole group. And then Curry and Butler have been out for a hot minute. I didn't have a lot of interest in these guys, but we were talking before the show, and you put me on someone that I wasn't really thinking about. What was your thought process there?
Yeah, Guy Santos is somebody who I think he could be a sneaky GPP play. Coming in at about 7% owned. I think he's somebody who, if you're playing 150s or 20 max, I think he's somebody you should try to get in just a little to be different. I think Draymond's not a low owned guy, but I think he's solid at 5,500. We've seen him come in like I said, like I was saying before, like this game has real implications. Like this game, I think these teams, both of them obviously want to win. And so I think Draymond looks nice here, but those are the only two guys I was really kind of just like keying in on.
All right. See, I was with you on the Guy Santos call, but you kind of lost me with Draymond.
Draymond.
Draymond Green, I'll play him in certain situations, but 9 times out of 10, if there's multiple games for me to pick from, usually won't land there. But hey, he's seen some ownership, so you can definitely do worse. I don't hate it. But I like that Santos call. He's been good. Surprisingly good here recently. Even when we've seen Green and Horford playing, his minutes have been pretty stable. And that's once again coming from another one of these teams that just play a lot of guys at this point in the season. So I like that Guy Santos call. And that's pretty much it for this slate, guys. It seems pretty straightforward. There's just a couple of spots I wanted to go high on and just kind of bring the DS in a little bit, so I'm not going too crazy on some of the super chalk. But the only other thing I did to the DS is I did set a rule to max 4 players for all the teams. I came across a few where I had like 5 Celtics or 5 Nuggets showing up in a lineup, and that's a one too many for me. I prefer 2 to 3 usually when it comes to teams, but 4 I've had some nice takedowns with, so I won't rule that out either. But no more than that. That's pretty much it. Anything else you want to add, TK? I see one more question too.
Yeah, I'll just say, like on 4 gamers, like I'll say it's okay to try to definitely got to be different to win these tournaments. Kind of like that guy was saying earlier with Miles Turner. If you've done your research on Miles Turner and you feel like he could be a pivot play, like if you're playing 20 max, maybe you can try to fit some of him in because of the research you've done. And if that's something that is a good play, you should probably play it. So that's all I gotta say.
Yeah, our guy Dixon said, do y'all like Ace Bailey and Reed Shepard tonight? I like Reed Shepard. I just went ahead and locked him in because he was already at 99% of my lineups. With the soft matchup, still relatively cheap, starting, that's just someone I'm going to play. Ooh, Gil out. That makes... We'll look at that a little bit. It's still a really tough matchup for them. They just don't have a lot of bigs anymore. God, this poor team. And they're just going to spread out the minutes to guys like Reese. And then I think it really just helps Will Riley become a much better play. It stabilizes his minutes more than anything. Gil officially being out, but I wasn't too concerned about his minutes anyway. It's just a tough matchup that kind of made me worry some. But yeah, anything you want to kind of add around Anthony Gill? And I'll go back to Dixon's question.
I would say that just probably solidifies Will Riley minutes a bit more because, like I said, like we were saying earlier, like the Washington Wizards, these guys' minutes has been very volatile. But with him out, I think Will Riley, his 30+ minutes should be secure.
Yeah, and then Ace Bailey's been solid recently, but when you look at the teams Ace has been good against, he's been good against the Pelicans, who you damn sure better be good against, or else you're never going to be good. Everyone's good against them. He was awful against Houston, was great against Memphis, bad against Portland, bad against Sacramento. He's been good in good spots, besides that game in late January against the Warriors. This spot in Denver, not one of those super sexy great spots that we're usually looking for. His ownership is only creeping up. And so he's not someone I'm going to force exposure to. And he's not showing up in a lot of my lineups. So short answer is Ace Bailey's not my favorite, but I did like Reed Shepard a lot. And I think that's it, guys. Eric Moyer said, do you guys like the punt at center for the Wizards? Have we got a starting lineup for them yet?
The punt. We got Carrington, Johnson, Colby, George, and Julian Reese is starting. Yeah. He's
Julian Reese
3,000 on DK.
Yeah, for us from a projection standpoint, he only went up maybe a couple of minutes. I mean, I never hate a 3K dart throw. But let me look at Reese's production recently.
I don't even think he has it. Like I don't think he has anything on
Wait,
the game log.
Julian
Whoa.
Reese. Let's see. ESPN. Yep. Stats. Yeah, he legit hasn't played this year.
Yeah,
he probably won't be out there too long. But if this game blows out, he'll see run too.
Yeah, that's a good point. He's some yeah. If I was playing 150, I would definitely have him just from that standpoint alone. This game blows out, like this kid just signed a contract. He hasn't played a regular season game or whatever. Just throw him out there. He could see 25, 30 minutes, right? And then so
this is a spot where I'm gonna keep refreshing because I'm curious to see what his ownership goes up to, because I feel like he'll be chalkier now with him officially being in the starting lineup. I might do like 10 to 15, maybe even 20%. Doesn't seem crazy here. But we have time where you don't have to force it. Like I kind of want to like just wait until like 650, refresh, see if he's ideally showing up in like 20, 30% of lineups naturally, and then I don't have to force it. But if he's not showing up, then I will force it, if that makes sense. So 20% men for me if he doesn't show up at all, but I think he will start to pop for us a little bit more as we get closer to lock. So that's our rant. I'll be back tomorrow with madness, so we'll have a good one. But TK will hopefully be back this week. I think I might need you, man. So fingers crossed there. But good luck tonight, y'all. Peace out.